So first of all, when you come into the land, you just tell the land, oh, I'm going to use your land. The land I'm on, I'm just borrowing it for today. We come here because it's peaceful here. You can hear anything, any bird, any animal, you know. You can dance, you can pray for it, you do stuff, and then you go home. You feel, by tomorrow you'll be a field, you know, you'll feel better, you know. This land's, well, to me, is sacred.
Because of Banff and the park pass, we can't access those sites anymore that would be used for healing. So like the hot springs, Lake Minnewanka, it says Lake Minnewanka, but it's Minnewanka is the name. And Minne is water, Waka is something great and spiritual. And so we would have water ceremonies or different things that we would do to help in our healing. And if we can't even access places we would traditionally go, the well-being of the people is going to be really impacted. And so I think what they need to understand is that we have an integral connection to the park, to the medicines, the herbs, and being in that place at a certain time. And that we should always have access to that because it helps with our well-being, with bringing in our youth, with our practices, our traditions, our cultural things that we do. So the impacts of having people who know the land not being able to go back to the land and take care of it, we can see with the forest fires that have happened and the way Mother Earth is shaping herself. My husband, for example, was in our area and he did a burn there. He's a firefighter, he's a smoke jumper. He knows all about land, but also the traditional understanding of it and the teachings for it. And so he did that in our area, and then after that we had so many strawberries this summer grow. I couldn't believe, I've never seen that many because of what he was able to do. But it's also that spiritual aspect of it and going in and talking to the land and also the elements that they don't really, I don't think they understand that you need to do that as well too. And so I think if they did training like that more with the people who carried those roles, and it's not something that everybody learns to do or that is given that responsibility. And I think that's one of the things with Western society. They think, oh, you can train to be this and that and that. But within our Indigenous paradigms of growing up, we understand a person is given that gift and they nurture it and you help them, you guide them to it, you mentor them, and then they carry that role and that's their responsibility. And that was taken away with everything that's happened. And so one of the things with the fire is that you'll have people like my husband who understand it and work with it, and they see what's going to happen if a fire does happen. And so he's told me in areas of where we live, he's like, I need to do this and this because if it ever does, then this is what will happen. And so then I know he has that wisdom, but he has that experience and that lived experience and that expertise. And from what he's already done with our area, I know, like, I trust him because he shows that what he's done, it's made sense. So we do understand the treaty as a living document because it still impacts everyone today. Even someone who immigrates to Canada today, they're considered a treaty person. Everyone in Canada or here, we consider a treaty person, and people are thinking, no, I didn't sign, my ancestors didn't sign back then, we didn't do that back then. It's like, no, you're here today because of the treaty that was signed, and so you are a treaty person. And there's still a lot of implications and things that are going on, and everything that impacts an Indigenous person that is a status Indian in Canada is treaty related. And those things are still going on, it's still being dismantled. What the hard part is that some of our leaders don't have this understanding, or they don't have that treaty knowledge, and so they don't know the documents that they're signing for now for modern day treaties or to turn us into municipalities, and they're doing these things without understanding what the treaty is or how it implicates and affects everything. Our understanding was that we would be an adhesion to Treaty 6. So we went to Blackfoot Crossing understanding we were being added on to Treaty 6, not 7, but because there were so many different languages that were being decoded, deciphered, translated, it got mixed up. And so then we were put under Treaty 7. And for us, it was an understanding of relationship, treaty to treaty, or government, nation to nation. And somewhere in there that was lost, because under a Western perspective, it was that we were giving up the land, we were giving up things to them to take over and control. And for us, it wasn't that. It was a relationship we were going to have. There's an author, Sylvia McAdams, talks about this, and she said we were adopting them as relatives. We were making relatives. That's what it was to us. And I think for our people, it was very much the same thing. But you have to remember, at the time they had cannons there. So if you're going to sign a nation-to-nation agreement with a group and have cannons there aimed at them, well then yes, they're going to sign, because they don't want their family and their children to be fired at. And so it really wasn't done in a sense that was to both sides in a good way. It was a forced upon agreement that we had to sign. And even then, the land and areas are still not adjusted for, because we were only given one area for one band, Chiniquay, and we're still waiting for the other two. And so it's a lot of things that have never been fixed. Some people think they have no role in it, that they have no part of it, but if you're a Canadian, then you're a treaty person, in fact. Even if you didn't sign treaty, or your ancestors didn't sign treaty, you're still a treaty person. And that's how we understand it, because it was making a relationship. It wasn't just a contractual agreement of land and what we were going to share together, or what to some we gave that up, but our understanding was we were sharing that. And actually, it's about making those relationships. And so it's having a relative. So an ally is a relative to us. In that sense, they're going to walk forward with us and share the same things, understand the same things, and try to live in a good way with the resources, being pragmatic about it, and thinking about how we do things, and how are we going to take care of ourselves, but also the future generations. And so I think a lot of that with decolonizing now, the Indigenous books that we're using, the articles that we're seeing being written, it really helps us support that Indigenous resurgence. And we don't just see it in art form, in clothing, we see it within government or grassroots people and organizations coming about that talk from that spirituality or that resurgence piece. Different things that have set us apart. And that's kind of where I see lateral violence coming in the community. And it was something that wasn't really natural before that our people would do. So it's really impacted us a lot. If anything, it's separated us even more when we used to work as collectively as a people.
What steps are being taken to I guess, decolonize that fracture?
I think it's coming in ways of smaller steps as people begin to become aware of things that are colonial. So maybe hiring practices, ways work is being done or programming is being done in communities, because a lot of it follows a Western perspective or a Western idea. And we see with a lot of things, especially with issues coming in the community or that are ongoing in the community, they haven't been working for many, many years. And it's because of that construct that they're made of that they're not working. And so instead, if we did them that were more Indigenous led or Indigenous owned, then it would have different results. And I think people are just getting to that idea of being open to that. I think a lot has been done with truth and reconciliation. There's the recommendations, and they need to be implemented, not just talked about, and as a way of bringing back our traditional teachings, our customs, our programs that we have right now are a good start at it, but we still need to do more, even within the hiring. Like within our community, we have a lot of non-Indigenous people working in managerial roles, and we have a lot of educated people that are looking for work, and they'll go elsewhere for work because that's where they're getting hired. And so we need to start investing in our people and bringing them back to the community. Because when the kids see that, they feel good, they go to school, they want to do these things because they see their own people out there doing the work. Because for so long, our people have asked for this and that, and can we do this or can we do that? When really we've always had that ability and that right to do that. And with going to school, some of the work I'm learning about in the articles and the Indigenous scholars are talking about that resurgence that we have and that we need to keep doing, because it's our responsibility to do that as we go forward. And I understand that being a grandmother, a mother, a sister, a daughter, a niece, and that it isn't just, oh, I want to go get my degree so I can teach her, I can do this. It's no, because I'm setting a pathway for my grandchildren to be able to walk forward and know that, oh, I can take this Indigenous course, and it's not just going to be at one university, it's going to be at all universities, and there won't be a time when we have to rely on our students to tell the story, but we'll have the scholars there, we'll have the books written that talk about the true story of our people. And I think in that way we lend a path for reconciliation, but also truth. And we talk about truth and reconciliation, but there's often not truth there. There's just, okay, let's do this. And when we do things to reconcile, it's not just having performers there dancing on certain days. It's about programming. It's about work for people. A lot of our people face employment issues with surrounding communities because of beliefs or stereotypes. But another groups of people can come in, can immigrate to Canada, and they can get jobs. But yet I've had such a hard time with my youth and skills sync programs to try and find them jobs and placement. It's already paid for by the group we're working with, and they just need that placement. So I've dealt with a lot of stereotypes, a lot of barriers for our youth. And so things like that need to be changed and talked about. We're not talking about those things, and we need to. And so I think we're starting to see that now with some programming and things. I just saw a thing that in a couple of weeks that they're going to do a workshop, ribbon skirt making and shirt making with the youth. And I think that's really good because the youth want that connection. They don't necessarily know who to ask all the time or have the means to get the supplies. And so to see the community do that, I'm really happy to see that, because there's so many talented people here that create through sewing or beading and painting, and even hunters and cooking. And so we have people in our community who can teach and do that. And so it's good in that respect to see that happening. I think also too, it gives the youth area that they find their talent in, whether they're sewing or beading. And that's something like a passage of rights that they would have learned at a younger age when they became a man, became a woman. They would learn those skills to have. And I think too, the connection, there's not enough connection. Everything is so fast and instant nowadays. Everybody is on their phone or on the TV, and there's none of that time going out, walking, doing things together and having that person to person talk anymore. And so we've made things so instant in our society that we want things. We don't want to work for it. And like how with the beadwork, it takes a long time. So for people to be patient and understand that. And then people want things instantly. Oh, well, you could do this. Or then when the cost of it, you're like, well, I can get it for this. And you're like, okay, but yeah, it's the industry has changed, and it's made it more of a capitalist or consumer industry and put a cost on everything, which really we wouldn't have had before.
Like a river through the mountains, a western wind that feeds the flame. There's a song within the city, makes me proud